Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests bring you insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for soul growth. Come journey with us through astrology's energetic cycles and get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sue Rose Minahan. This is Talk Cosmos, and today, August 3rd, yes, we're in summer, at least on the northern hemisphere, and the sky is really active with patterns. It's no surprise. The story continues, and it will. And so for today, we are focusing on the cosmic push, and I put that because Mars is a real instigator. There's what they call a kite. We'll talk about that, but the point is it flies. That's the good news. There's a lot of energy. I mean, you can fly. It's like you can take this energy and move ahead. But again, by moving ahead, a lot of things might get dislodged. We'll just find out what we do think about all of this, because now we're ready for, Planet Buzz.
Focusing on perspectives of pattern-planet cycle relationships and understanding their archetypal energy consciousness, reflecting through history, current events, mythology, and philosophical questions, these are the members of Planet Buzz.
I'm Sue Rose Minahan, founder of Talk Cosmos since 2018. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, consultant, speaker, writer, vibrational astrology student, Dwarf Planet University graduate, Kepler Astrology Toastmasters Club charter member. I have a fine arts music degree plus a certificate in jazz. I'm an artist, musician, and certified color energy life coach. Especially, I love mythology and esoteric philosophies.
And I'm Dr. Laura Tad. I work as a spiritually oriented psychological astrologer with students and clients around the world. As a counselor, writer, and educator, I love helping people recognize their inner strengths, take advantage of auspicious moments, and navigate times of challenge with greater ease. On my own podcast, Mythic Sky Storytime, I discuss astrology, mythology, and actualizing our full potential. Learn more at mythicsky.com.
Plus, a special guest who we will introduce in just a short moment.
And as the ancient Hermetic Code reveals,
as below, so above. As above, so below.
Hello, Dr. Tad. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty well, Sue. It's good to be back.
Yeah, just as I was listening to that Hermetic Code, I realized, by the way, despite all or because of all, one never quite knows, Hermes, our great planet Mercury, is retrograde. That's apparent. So yes, it's in that beautiful sign of Leo. All signs are beautiful, but I do tend to think that Leo on its best side can be so generous.
Yes, it's been a retrograde.
Yeah, generously retrograde, right? In case we didn't know. Well, we need to get right to this. There's always a lot to be said. And we have a wonderful guest. He was here with us in March. And in fact, I have a slide for that because the subject, Mars at 0 degrees Libra, is one of the focal points here. And Adam Gainsburg does a lot of work with Mars as Venus. Hi, Adam.
Hello, Sue. Hi, Laura.
We are here again. And thank you for joining us. This is really, I'm excited. It's to get this focal point on the planets. The inner planets really do make significant changes. We talk so much about the outers, and they're being very noisy this year. But those inner planets, boy, what would we do if we didn't? Anyway, it's the truth. Well, I need to talk about Adam. So, Adam is at soulsign.com. He also has a couple of other sites that we'll bring up. And Dr. Laura Tad is Mythic Sky and Talk Cosmos. Adam Gainsburg, he has 3 sites to contact him. Soulsign.com. That's like the overall has all the goodies. But Mars Gates, and it's coming up in September. There'll be a slide later on that you can get a hold of Adam for his really groundbreaking work with Mars as far as its entire plateaus or increments or gestalts of movement. All those words come to mind. Skybody.us. He's a leading astrologer. He found his soul sign, and he is an author on Pluto, Chiron, Venus, and training courses, really spectacular training courses, besides being a lecturer and a great soul and anything else. Yes, and he was nominated most auspiciously for a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2018, and that was at UAC, which is coming up next year. Adam, that was a great occasion. I was there. I remember. Thank you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for the invitation, Sue. Thank you very much for having me for this.
You know, this is a big subject. When Laura and I looked at the whole year focus, there is this trine.
Yeah. And
Mars is in the trine. And I think through a conversation, it was, I realized that, well, that in itself is probably of some importance. And this is not the main focus of this talk, but it is inherent because it's been in this mini trine, which is now a kite. Anyway, and all these patterns, some people know we would discuss. But I got curious and I decided to search. The search went longer. And I think solar fire goes back and forwards 5,000 years. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that there is a pattern that it goes from the beginning, close to zero of Gemini, of its trine between Gemini and Aquarius for these particular archetypes, for Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in. But it goes, because Uranus is only 7 years, there's 252 years before it gets to the next segment gap. Mm-hmm. And it's actually 3. So interestingly, it's really the decans, isn't it? It's like from 0 to 10, 10 to 20, and 21 to 30. But the furthest back it went, and there's like about 2,000 or 3,000 years, 2,500 years between one whole cycle of those 30 degrees and the next one. Mm-hmm. What really only matters for our purpose is that the next exact trine that they're having will be next year at an early degree of 4 degrees, meaning we're really at this threshold of a whole long cycle of, I think I wrote down, but the whole cycle itself goes over several thousand years. So it's a real energy push. Shall I just go on? Because that was...
Yeah, I mean, I think I was looking to see initially at myself, like, when was the last time they were trying in these signs, and
our next slide. There you
And so, just to find them trying in any sign, I had to go back a little over 100 years. And I actually just found one of the things that I think is a beautiful quote that was from them that is perfect even for now with this trine. So in 1922, it's when the beginning of what became what's now the Irish Republic, when Ireland first got independence from Britain, occurred during the Uranus-Pluto trine. It happened to be, it was in water at that time, with Pluto in Cancer and Uranus in Pisces. But Michael Collins, who was the founder of the IRA and Sinn Féin, that's the political arm of the Irish government, his quote was, once Ireland had won its freedom from Britain, or part of Ireland had won its freedom from Britain, was that freedom to achieve freedom. That was the goal that they had achieved. And I really love that as a quote for this trine, regardless of sign that they're in. It feels very Uranian Pluto in that trine of like that freedom of Uranus, of Aquarius energy. And yet it's not complete. It's the trine. There's sort of more to come, more transition that can be more evolution in the works. And I think that's part of this energy that we're in right now, globally.
Yes, Laura, that's a great point. This opening trine of their cycle I love that you found that and brought that. Thank you. That really enriches my understanding. That freedom to create freedom, or
to achieve freedom. Yeah.
To achieve. Yeah, that's that real. And interestingly, go ahead. Yeah, because Mars is there.
That theme also plays through the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that really started basically in late May and really completes February, March of next year. So the same archetypal or evolutionary intention in terms of collective consciousness is being played out through that great historic example, Laura, of Ireland's basically they're creating the situation, the environment in which they could be sovereign. And that's exactly what Neptune and Neptune and Saturn is doing at the very start of the zodiac at 0 Aries.
Isn't this right? Because it's identity too. You think of Mars itself, which interestingly, with a lot of these, I think we know when I say these in the trines, Mars is very active. It's either conjunct one sign or square, or a player, a real player. So
yeah, the Uranus Pluto trine. When I was looking through it, I went back to the 1100s, and most of the time, Mars was conjunct Uranus or Pluto. It was. I have yet to find it trine in a grand
exactly. And I searched with that a lot too,
but it somehow was still in play. It's been in this continued presence for millennia.
Mm-hmm. And I think, interestingly, there is that large gap from 650. I don't know if that was evident with those gaps I didn't mention, but 650 BCE, before the Common Era, and then up until 2026, next year is when it's exact. So during that time, that's when Uranus and Pluto trine and connect in all these other signs, including the flipped ones where Uranus is in Aquarius and Pluto's in Gemini. So what we have in store with this particular archetype is the new pattern.
Yeah. I just want to say one thing there. So to attempt to attempt to describe what Mars does, what Mars's effect or influence is on this trine, because of Mars and Pluto's inherent relationship, and Mars and Uranus's indirect archetypal relationship, because in a way, Mars does things often that is completely unforeseen and unwanted in some ways. The violence, the violation, the not considering others in its actions, in its what it says and all of that, with Uranus just coming out of the future, out of the sky to land its wisdom and to land its seed, that Mars in the trine, not the square or their opposition, but Mars involved in the Uranus-Pluto trine, for me, it tends to bring about more agency for the latent archetype of the trine to actually start to materialize, and not always in the most conscious or the ways that are best or more equitable for everything. But it does initiate the manifestation of the trine potential, because as you both know, trines can have their own shadow. That energy just can keep looping and looping and looping and looping, and it feels so good. And why ever change? Why ever grow? There's no reason to.
I love how you bring that up, because it's so instinctual. Mars is, regardless of whatever sign, is instinctual. It just needs, it's that energy, that pure energy of evolution in a sense. I mean, the world, the energy never destroys, it just recreates. And it's because of that motion going forward. And with vibrational astrology, which I am studying at length here, they have found, Linda Barry, who is a tremendous researcher, found that trines will be violent to keep their flow. They don't want to be interrupted. Yeah,
exactly. And that's Mars's function in their trine. It interrupts the otherwise myopic and almost like where you keep it in the family and you don't let it go out of that lineage.
Oh, yes.
It breaks that up. That's really good. Yeah, that's really helpful. So Mars is really a player for an agent of evolution and growth. Even
Absolutely.
though it's really instinctual, even if it might cause wars, it might cause overt conflict and death. It
You
is
have to have
necessary for the larger evolutionary process.
the rocks have to be pounded away to get the sand, you know. Then the sun has to beat on it to have glass. I think of all these nature things. And oh, yes, I've been told too that the universe loves action. And I've thought about that. And I thought, yes, Mars, it's all of this. Here we have, today's the 3rd. So in 3 days, and okay, there has been this trine because Mars is actually in Virgo, very late Virgo, and is applying to be in Libra. And for me, I think, and you'll tell us in a bit because we'll get to that, but whether that's a Mars gate when it gets into Libra, because it'll be exact and it'll be opposing Saturn. I might be jumping. Anyway, perhaps we should look at their work. They're going to finish up this business about the trine. And there will be 5 exact conjunctions starting in a year on July 18th. Did I say trines? Yes.
Yes. You said conjunctions, so you meant trine.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Laura. Yes, trines, indeed. And it will begin at 4.5 degrees. Perhaps I'll just read these quickly for the podcast people. There are people that just listen. But many people will be saying this. It's going to be July 18th, 2026 at 4 degrees. Then later, 29th of November, it'll retrograde back to 3.5 degrees. Then the following year in 2027 on June 15th at 6, almost 7 degrees. And then the following year will be its last on the 13th of January at 6 degrees and 20 minutes. And they flip-flop back and forth, retrograde, the 2 outer planets. And then the last will be on the 10th of May, 2028 at 8.
Yeah, so I think, something, and we'll look at the charts, but to look at from this, is that this energy that's coming in the coming days, then it's a long burn, right? Like Mars may initiate this, but we're not out of this energy for over till the, 2028. We are in this energy, and the seeds are being planted. Or Mars, I think, being part of this alignment for this round, right? And that's where I was starting to see these conjunctions. Mars is still in play and these other exact trines in different angles. It's this spark that is very Martian, right? That initial energy kicking off this grand trine that then carries through until 2028 or through 2028.
Yeah. So being that this trine is going to play in and out, as you've laid out here, Sue, in air, this is, as you say, Laura, perfectly, a slow, and I would add deep burn. This is going to deeply burn anything in us, personally and collectively, in terms of our relationship with our own inner air element, those parts of our inner life and outer life that are simply denying or holding on for dear life against the forces of our own change and growth and opening and surrender and evolution. And Mars, I think, will continue to play that same role. Laura, you've inspired me. I'm gonna be looking at Mars's position relative to their trines for these 5 to see exactly
it's fascinating. What those are. It is so active. And I went back with those charts there since 3,500 BC, and it is a player. And if it's not with this particular, there's usually a trine, and sometimes with Mars involved, but it's not necessarily with Uranus and Pluto, but it is with another sect, might be Neptune and Jupiter. Yeah.
Right. And I just want to point out there that if you go back, that period of trines that you've laid out there, Sue, from middle of 26 through middle of 28, that is not exactly, but pretty close to the entire life cycle of the next Mars cycle that begins January of next year and goes through 2028, February or March it ends. So the Mars-Sun relationship, which astronomically is totally independent of this Uranus trine Pluto cycle, those two things are kind of overlaying on top of each other at the same one. And this is in addition to the Mars, as you were pointing out, Laura, Mars involved by aspect to these trines.
This is really jet propelling us. Thank you for that. And I am eager to hear more of this and I know you have slides too about Mars, because besides that, the Venus star points we're going to, as a nation anyway, going to be returning to the exact same ones that we had, because it also is a 250-year cycle. You have these, I remember the Marquise, life happens when you're in it, and we're in it, just like it's a good time to be active about something. I brought this in knowing that you have slides, but I didn't want to leave it out. And if you're going to bring this up later, but maybe just briefly speaking, okay, I will just share that this is Adam's personal slide. I guess I didn't put that down here.
That's okay.
I neglected. Yeah, and there is an evolution. It is a cycle, and this is of real transformation. And in March, when we had our last one, it was at the Destiny Challenge, I think, wasn't it?
In March, yes. It would have been just before, I think, or right at the Destiny, which is the waning square between the Sun and Mars. Yeah. It's the waning square. It's after the opposition. And that's when the Destiny Challenge is called such, because that's the time archetypally when collectively humanity is meeting all of its inner obstacles to accepting its destiny. And the way that we stay blocked to our destiny is we stay needful of personal fulfillment in the ways that we think we need. And when we can drop that, then the destiny or the Dharma starts to unfold or starts to show itself. So that's the Destiny Challenge. So now, though, and I do have this slide in as part of my few slides. So.
Okay, yeah, because it is your slide. Yeah, it was the only one I had that I thought, well, we have to bring it up, because we've been talking about the trine between Uranus and Pluto, but really what's making this work is this grand trine with Mars. And I thank you for that, Adam, because I don't know about you, Laura, but on a personal basis, that's really what I've been scoping out is, yes, I've known why I've done things, but then I realized, gee, have I been selfish? Necessarily, things I need to do, but how is this fulfilling as a service to everybody? Whew, well.
And so then have we moved into the elder phase?
We'll find out. Oh, okay.
Elder phase comes at the end of August. The elder phase starts the end of August.
Okay.
Yep. I'm gonna go through that.
Sure.
So here we are with this actual ingress of Mars that perfects the grand trine closer in orb. It's not going to be perfected, but it's in orb. And then on the 9th, it actually opposes Saturn exactly, which I have a slide for too. But here, it does show this ongoing mini trine, as they call it, talent trine between that Uranus and Pluto square that is sextile, the 60 degrees connecting with the fire planets that have recently ingressed into Aries that we brought up, that we're now identifying, and that's Saturn and Neptune. And with Mars across from it.
And this trine, it's, well, I'm going to get to this too, but this is so important to me as I was thinking about what I wanted to share in our conversation today. That this period, for those listening or watching, this period, I mean, from basically the night of the 5th through at least August 10th, is a real hotbed where this energy perfects. And even to the point where on August 8th, the moon aligns exactly with Pluto to even further trigger all of this to happen. So I just wanted to mention that slide that you just put up there, Sue, on which is for the 6th, the entire period for me is the 5th through the 10th.
I like that because I actually put the 18th. I don't know where I put that. Maybe it doesn't show on this slide, but there is an extended window. So that's a good week. That's an entire week. So that's in a few days, starting Tuesday, I think.
Yeah.
And then Laura, I don't know if because we will be going over this again with Adams, but I know we were interested in looking at the Sibley chart here in the USA, how it works. Oh. And I think the best way to look at it could be because our inner planets, Venus, well, and Jupiter's not an inner planet, but they've both had their returns in Cancer. And Venus was yesterday, actually, on the 2nd. And that's meaning that's opposition with Mars is making a T-square. So the nation is really in a very active, energetic focus on what is essential, what are the actions, what are my values, what is stability, what are my relationships, what's going on, how to act, how to go forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that sort of the clearest engagement with the Sibley chart is the midheaven, right? The midheaven is amplifies this grand trine.
Good point.
Right?
Yeah.
It's at 1 Libra. And so even though it's not making exact aspects that I can see quickly with other signatures in the chart, that 1 degree Libra midheaven, Mars is right there, and then we'll hold that grand trine after Mars moves away.
And Saturn right at the IC, at our root, at the bottom. And there were others, but they're moving. And so many ways, it's like, why did I bring this up? Well, was it in the case too for this particular chart rather than on the 9th? Because this one, and then we'll take a break and Adam can, and we'll continue with others that he has. Because this is on the 9th. And as we can see, well, they're all Aries 0 charts. So in other words, the houses aren't indicative on this one. How about if we take a break and we'll come back and we'll figure this out. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I have Adam Gainsburg and Dr. Laura Tad with me. We're talking about the cosmic push. Mars is working, moving, churning. We'll be right back. Thank you. While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the Yang period of Leo, ruled by the solar sun. Having departed from a cycle based on the internal process of emotional attachments requiring security and safety, the energy of Leo externally manifests our legacy through children and artistic creations. As a fixed Yang fire sign that desires to ignite actualization, Leo the lion takes the risk to generously exhibit love and welcome all to share their stage with joyous pleasure for living life.
Talk Cosmos brings insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for the soul growth with hour-long programs. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel and Facebook page. While you're there, make sure you click the like and subscribe buttons so you get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. And to find out about upcoming programs, sign up for the newsletter at talkcosmos.com. So grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to the Ananda Institute of Living Yoga, we cover the world of animals. This week, it's Best, Neuroenergetic Balancing, Rasmussen Reset, and Energy Code Sunday on Animal World. Dr. Nels Rasmussen and Sister Linda Rasmussen join us, and together they can help you or your animal friends with emotional, behavioral, or physical issues. Hope you can join us and plan to call in. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Wherever you go, Alternative Talk 1150 is here for you.
Hello. Just a brief mention to everybody about our panelists, and then we'll go right into Adam's slides because there's power there. Soulsign.com for Adam, and for Dr. Tad, it's at mythicsky.com on Talk Cosmos. So yes, the Mars Gates. It starts in the fall. Adam, you want to tell us?
Yes, this is a course that is not based in astrology. This is a course for men. This is a course for men to regain a living daily relationship with their own bodies, specifically how their life force flows through their circuits. And it's focused on a man's sexual anatomy, the specific places within a man's sexual anatomy that each hold a unique aspect of his own masculine consciousness. And so it's an inner practice course. It's a course whose practices is rooted in ancient mysteries. And it's a sacred space that men can come into and not only learn about their own life force, their own Shakti, but it's a place for them to meet a kind of deeper layer of their own power that I've found that a lot of men are subconsciously afraid of.
That is so powerful because, oh, I love this. Yeah. Yes. Oh, that's great. There's various classes that you have, and I guess this is on your soul sign. And the reason I stuttered there is because the Venus, the Venusian, there has been the feminine that we're working on, but it's a tandem. They both need to be supported and realigned. So I thank you for that work.
And so astronomically, when you look at the cycle from beginning to end of Venus, and you compare that to the cycle from beginning to end between Mars and the Sun, so Venus and the Sun to Mars and the Sun, two different cycles, comparing them, they are literally inverses of each other. Venus starts her cycle closest to Earth, Mars starts his cycle furthest from Earth. And they go around that. So there is a literal astronomical, spatial distance polarity there. And then when you start to dig and go deeper into the archetypal and the evolutionary implications of all of the stages of each cycle, that's when we can really take it and make changes in our life that are demonstrable, rather than just studying and understanding more in our minds. And that's what my work is all devoted to.
The integral. And I know you work with Venus too. In fact, I have Venus rising. No, that's Ariel Gutman. Well, anyway, I have your book too. It's
the Light of Venus.
Yeah, the Light of Venus. Yep.
Thank you. Yeah. Great.
Laura Tad, you have, I know, coming up with a retreat, but first you have Cosmic Conversations. It's monthly, it's local, but people could be in your area. You want to get
and the one this month or August, we're in August, is actually going to be tomorrow. We're doing it Saturday morning instead because I hold it in a loft above stables, and it was almost 100 degrees in July to give the talk. And so we're hoping Saturday morning will be much more comfortable.
Sounds good.
Then the evening in the south gets pretty hot here. So so we're trying Saturday morning. And then the Goddess Awakening Retreat is the annual retreat I've been helping a dear friend of mine out with that is on Playa El Coco in Nicaragua. And it's right on the Costa Rican border. So we're literally, you can see Costa Rica from the beach. And it's right where the jungle meets the ocean. You get woken up by howler monkeys and get to see baby turtles released into the sea. And it's a combination
sounds
of yoga and astrology and meditation and different experiential exercises. So
rebooting the soul, I know, and fantastic. Yeah, those jungle sounds are really exciting. Actually, I used to live near the park in Seattle, and I'd hear all the sounds. But being in the forest somehow, in the jungles, and hearing that in the morning is extraordinary. They won't be in the jungle, folks. You'll be on the beach. I'm getting myself too. Here is the show that we did, the three of us, and Adam, about Mars in particular. So check this out. I wanted to bring focus to it. That's April 13th. And I have the different graphics for it, or else you can find it on Planet Buzz, the playlist. That's an easy way too. Meanwhile, Talk Cosmos is active, and we have a potpourri of programs, everything from Astro Jam, which is a theatrical program that we're not doing mystery charts this year. We're doing the ingress charts, and it's really fun. People take their planets, and it's a spontaneity of learning things. And then we have a vibrational program that's seasonal. With that seed chart, Linda Berry really presents with Rob Passetti a whole new part. And Rick Levine was there on Alakazam, Uranus. That was our last month. And yes, I thought, I like that. Alakazam is working. Fractal Cosmos is coming up. It's Labor Day weekend. It's online. It's the first one. And it's reasonable. And there'll be 2 tracks. One for beginners, just to find out what is this, because it has been around. Alan, someone, I should know the name. But the point is David Cochran and Linda Barry have really evolved this into a remarkable astrological study. Well, we are going to go into Adam's charts, but we'll be talking about, oh, well, there we go. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Adam.
Well, yes, I just have a few slides here. It's more, I wanted to just point out, make a few points, and then we can discuss any of this. So the cycle that we're referring to here, when we say the Mars cycle currently, is simply the Mars-Sun cycle, or Mars's heliacal cycle. And it began there's the date, it began in the middle of November 23, and will complete with the Mars-Sun conjunction on January 9th, 2026. This is the Capricorn. This has been and will continue to be the Capricorn cycle. Why? Because when Mars first heliacally rose, that means, and here I go back to the ancient skywashing principles long before there were charts and computers to calculate anything. When a planet heliacally rose, that began the ancient skywatching priestesses and priests, the beginning of the cycle. So the heliacal rising of a planet, in this case, when Mars was first enough distance from the sun to be seen as a morning star over the eastern horizon, he was in the sign of Capricorn. That's why this whole cycle is described as Capricorn. It's similar to a human being's birth. We're technically alive in utero for 9 months before, but we take our astrology from the birth moment or the first breath moment. It's the same thing here. So I just wanted to mention that this has been Mars's cycle of exaltation, where very strong Mars, sometimes imbalancedly so. When Mars is it's arguable that Mars in its sign of exaltation, Capricorn, is even stronger and more effective than when he's in a sign of rulership in terms of getting things done, achieving Martian type things that are signified in our lives. So let's see. There we go. Now, within this cycle that we're in right now, we are in the service phase. Here on the right side, the service phase comes after the waning evening sky square. And what the service phase, in a very, very brief way of saying here, is described in just a long sentence down at the bottom here, increasing the momentum, the inner, almost like the inner developmental momentum, to disengage from one's personal history as the reason for taking actions, for helping others, and for achieving a purpose. In other words, we start to dislodge our ego as the reason why we say yes and no to things in our life. And the reason why we start to say yes and no to things in life starts to become less personal fulfillment and more what is needed by the collective. And that starts to, as I say here, dislodge. And it will start to challenge emotional or subconscious tendencies on how we've believed our value is, what our value is in society. And that's why service, it sounds all beautiful. It's a service phase of Mars. But it's really a very challenging time in the Mars cycle, because here's what's happening. During the service phase, Mars is visibly growing more dim. He's traveling further and further from the Earth. Just to compare here, if you're looking at the slide here, at the very peak of this, what I call the red Mars mountain, Mars opposite the sun is when he's closest to Earth. So as he progresses down the other side of the mountain, he grows further and further away from the Earth. And this is archetypally significant because it says that Mars is no longer trying to achieve a personal purpose, symbolically represented by the pinnacle of the mountain. Mars is now trying to contribute meaningfully to something that is beyond him. There's a great book out there written by 3 British astrologers years ago called The Mars Quartet. Maybe it was 4 astrologers. And they went deep into Mars, and they described Mars at the lower, middle, and upper levels of consciousness, the lower, middle, and upper consciousness of the expression of Mars. And because Mars is no planet is just one thing, because we humans are multivalent. So in this service phase, this is what we're doing here. And I think a lot of people, especially when Mars starts to trigger and activate this kite, it will plant a seed in their psyche that to be challenged, like, why am I doing the things I'm doing now?
Would it be part of who am I doing it for? If I'm not doing it for
exactly. Who am I doing it for? Exactly.
It's so appropriate in Libra too. It's just miraculously
the start of Libra, which is one of the world points. It's it's the equinoctial point. So
that's right.
And that plus the Saturn Neptune at the very start of the zodiac at one of the other world points, that opposition alone is, I mean, we're planting seeds and I've taught this recently to some groups. We're planting seeds now in terms of our personal choices and what we're no longer willing to believe in, and what we're about ourselves, what we're no longer willing to go along with, that may only come to fruition, 2, 3, 4 generations in the future. That's what the world points, the 0 points of the fixed signs, and if you go further, the middle degrees of the 0 degrees of the cardinal signs and the 15 degrees of the fixed signs.
Yeah,
these have long reaching effects. So when major aspect patterns like a kite happening here, and this opposition between Mars and Saturn next week, we're not just doing it for us. This is causing major changes, and it can be very dissettling, because the changes that this kind of complex involvement with multiple planets creates, it's creating changes almost like to the subconscious architecture of what we now call normal, what we now call reality. And that's what's getting vibrated and undermined. And that's what's going to play out in the future. Or some humans are going to double down on what we know, what's safe, what's known, what's familiar, and we're just going to try to ride that out, rather than going with the changes and being in the discomfort for a while and meeting what needs to be met in our hearts and our minds.
It does bring up so much shadow. Does one trust? How does one, many, many feelings of loss and attachments and
Yes.
et cetera, et cetera. But having that awareness is so valuable here that it's
so valuable.
progressive.
And Sue, you're so right. And what you just commented on is one of the central meanings I make in the longer work I have on each of these 13 Mars phases about the service phase. Meeting our shadow is sometimes the only thing that a person will go through that can sufficiently prepare them to change their inner identity fixations and attachments, to prepare them to be able to actually place themselves in service of something greater than themselves. Because the self-fixation of emotional comfort, psychological balance, financial security is sometimes too tight for people to let go of and look beyond it.
The memories, the fears, yes, of maybe other experiences where it wasn't so easy. Now it's settled. It's like, do I really need to rock this boat? But
exactly, yes.
Yeah, but there are storms, and I know, like, even the ocean, just briefly speaking, is pretty turbulent still here in Hawaii ever since that earthquake. So life too, this is,
I bet. So these are the dates of all the current Mars. In the current Mars cycle, these are the dates of each of the phases. So I've highlighted in yellow the service phase. It started back at the end of April this year, and it will go through August 28th of this year. Sorry, the astrological font I used didn't translate to this slide. So, but I have it right here. And Mars entered into the service phase on April 28th at 4 degrees of Leo, and will end the service phase and go into the elder phase at 14 degrees of Libra. Okay, so and then in this phase, I just wanted to point out here, and what I'm looking at right here is a calendar that I create every Mars cycle. It's a full extensive calendar that talks archetypally, evolutionarily, and it gives all the astronomy of everything happening Mars on the chart. Is let's see, right as of today, Mars will conjoin basically I think it's the Gamma star in the Virgin Priestess constellation called Zavijava, and that star is located in the crown chakra, basically the pineal gland of the Virgin Priest, the feminine fertility of life. Ceres, it's the Syrian principle. And so Mars right now in a couple of days will be entering into that place within the service phase. So there's going to be a kind of, for those who are sensitive, those who are tuned in mythically, archetypally, there will be, I bet there will be more of a presence of the goddess, the feminine principle in each of us, and our mythological relationship with her, with that. And I do want to point out here something. In just a few days, on the 10th of August, Mars will cross to Libra. And when Mars does that, 2 and change in Libra, that means Mars is crossing what's called the supergalactic center, which is the unfathomably massive black hole that organizes 35 or 36 different galaxies. The Milky Way galaxy is one of them. And this degree, the 2.5 Libra tropically, is a degree that I've always been kind of drawn to mention to clients, bring up in classes, because it has to do with a level of light or the organization of consciousness at a scale that is, in my view, still very much beyond what most of humanity can reach in our meditations, in our God or goddess image, in our religious faith and belief. It's not our galaxy, it's what our galaxy revolves around. So it's an order of, and the reason I'm bringing this up only is because I know both of you go there. And number one. And two, it's also because this has been a big part of my work recently in bringing to my clients and students who are very actively now showing up, about just to make them aware of this so that they can then take this information and explore it in their own way, rather than relying on an astrologer with all the knowledge that they have to listen to what they're saying and then go and believe that. For them to go and explore. But this is a real reach. This is, again, not the galactic center. This is the center of 30 of the Milky Way plus another, I think it's 33 different other galaxies that all revolve around that. And so it's happening in the service phase. So I got to believe, because I'm a big fan of the Mars cycle and phases, I've got to believe that there's something that we are each who are sensitive here are being invited into, to become aware of and include in our lives, in the rest of our lives. There's some level of kind of a higher level of, maybe some people will call it divine grace. Yeah. Some people might call it kind of like my inner marching orders, my intuitive marching orders, or whatever. Like it, but to be just simply to be aware of this.
It's like the brass ring. Yeah, they say about dreams, reach for the stars. Well, in this sense, the higher intention would be for the cosmic, well, I'm glad I said cosmic push now for this whole show, because really that's a wonderful tall order, but it's not too tall. It's alignment.
Yes,
thank you.
It's alignment at a higher order. It's like a whole other octave of sentient consciousness. Yeah. Right. So next, I just wanted to, this is just the chart that I pulled for August 8th. I pulled this chart because here's Moon with Pluto. So when you just look at this chart, here's the trine with Uranus, still not exact, but still active. But it's waxing to the trine. It's applying. Here's the Sun, the Saturn, Neptune, both retrograde at the very start of the zodiac at 1 and change of Aries. And here's Mars having just ingressed into Libra. And then the Moon there with Pluto is like pop. So that's why I was framing this by roughly the 5th, the 6th of August through the 10th or maybe the 10th of August as a period when politically the wars, both the overt wars and the hidden wars that are very active right now. Hidden wars against populists, against the population, hidden wars against human freedom, to achieve freedom to be free. As you brought before, Laura. Like that's what I see. This is like a real seed. This kite pattern can really, really, like, it's like just asking of us, like, hey guys, what do you want to do now with all this freedom and all this sovereignty and all this blessing that is your life and your ability, your skills and your compassion and your intelligence and your gifts? What do you want to do with this? Do you want to just try to get through this life, like, and not get hurt too much? Or do you really want to make a contribution and risk a little bit of comfort and safety to help others who are very, very much in need?
Indeed.
I was
going to say about the Moon, just here it is so powerful. And I noticed that it was at 0 degrees Libra earlier before Mars ingress. So the Moon again is this trigger point. Go ahead.
So actually speaking to the Moon, so when the Moon gets back to 1 Libra, a few weeks after this, is the day Venus will ingress into Leo and be opposed Pluto. And we get another kite.
What a whole myriad between the emotional part, our action part, our value part. Of course, it's integrated, but we're getting these levels of focus.
So it's like this almost a lot of the same players in a pivoted kite, because now instead of the Mars being the opposition, so Venus is the opposition, and it's both at almost their ingress, which is fascinating. That's how it is being triggered.
The ingress, I completely agree with you, Laura. This chart here, when the Moon reaches Pluto, in light of what you just brought, with when the Moon will reach, when Venus will oppose Pluto, and the Moon will be where again?
Will be 1 Libra.
We'll be at 1 Libra, right? That event is very connected to this event. There's a theme there, and the theme is the Venus moon, like you said, another kite being formed. But this has to do with almost like, if I could attempt an interpretation here, revealing our inner blind spots and expectations of what our resources and value is. This plants the seed, Moon Pluto, but that will reveal it, will bring it out.
Yeah.
Libra,
Dig
Venus,
down,
and
shine that light into those crevices and embrace, because once we can go through it, I think people get scared. It's like, am I going to get stuck? Well, we don't know how long, but you'll get through. Thank you, Adam Gainsburg. Thank you, Laura Tad. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And may the light just buoy you somehow to go forward on your journey. We're all in it, somehow connecting. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining an insightful conversation on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests awaken consciousness by connecting soul growth patterns with astrology's energetic cycles. Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same place, to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.